Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, February 22, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you guys utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, letting me know what the day has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so as usual, we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us, according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused right here on the timestamp at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours. That's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. Alright, so let's see what's going to be taking place. Heading into Sunday, we see that there's going to be a repeat of what happened today. We see the greens represent moisture across sections of some northern and eastern parishes on Sunday morning. Then sections of some southern and western parishes getting in on the action during the afternoon. What do we see on Monday morning? Not really much of anything. We do see an abundance of moisture associated with a low pressure system, as we can see by the L, across section of the eastern Gulf, spilling into portions of Florida, western Cuba, and the Yucatan right there. And then by Monday afternoon, we see some moisture across portions of central and western Jamaica, and we also see that moisture that was across the eastern Gulf making its way eastward. We can see some of it spilling into portions of the northwestern Caribbean, western Cuba, Florida right there, getting in on a lot of the bad weather at that time. Heading into Tuesday morning, what do we see? Across Jamaica, we do see some moisture extending from the southern and eastern coastlines towards the east to the south of Hispaniola, all the way over into portions of Puerto Rico and the eastern Caribbean. We also see the moisture associated with that low pressure system now pushing off to the east now by Tuesday morning, affecting portions of the Bahamas, the low pressure center associated with that right there to the east of Florida, and the moisture definitely pushing its way eastward, making it as far as the Cayman Islands into portions of northwestern Honduras by that time. Tuesday afternoon, we see an abundance of moisture across eastern, central, and western Jamaica, according to this latest Euro run. And we see what happens by the time we head into early Wednesday morning. Some of this moisture pushing eastward, but most of it dissipating. We're seeing more whites than anything else. We can also see the abundance of moisture extending from the low pressure system all the way down into the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba, Haiti right there for sure. A very interesting forecast in general. And then look at what happened on Wednesday afternoon. We're getting back some isolated afternoon showers across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes. Thursday morning, we do see some dots of greens represent moisture in and around the island for sure. Thursday afternoon, we see the moisture across eastern, central, and western Jamaica. Heading into Friday, what do we see? We see the moisture as represented by the dots of greens across the waters to the north and to the south of the island. And then let's see what's going to be happening on Friday afternoon. We see the moisture extending from east west across the entire island. Very interesting forecast. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. That this is also valid for Saturday, March 1, 2025. We can see moisture associated with the frontal system extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portions of the southern Bahamas. We see some moisture across the eastern Caribbean. We see some moisture to the south of Jamaica. Very interesting as we head into meteorological spring at the beginning of March. Let us match what we just saw on the latest Euro model to the latest GFS model. Let's see if we have agreement on both models. Alright, so Sunday morning, we see the moisture across northern and eastern parishes as represented by the green. Those parishes getting in on some maybe relief rainfall as usual. Then by the end of the day on Sunday, look at this. This is 0Z on Monday, which when calculated is actually 7 p.m. on Sunday. And we can see the greens represent moisture across sections of some central and western parishes. Very interesting. Heading into Monday morning, let's see. Not seeing much according to this latest GFS. Not seeing much on the afternoon time frame either. But look at what's happening as we head into Tuesday morning. The moisture that we saw across the eastern Gulf pushing its way east where it should be to the east of Florida, the brunt of it that is, affecting portions of the Bahamas, Cuba, the northwestern Caribbean. Very interesting forecast. Tuesday morning showing some isolated showers across sections of some southern and eastern parishes. Tuesday afternoon, or the end of the day on Tuesday, showing moisture across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting Tuesday is coming for sure. Wednesday morning showing a lot of moisture to the southeast of us and across the eastern end of the island. Wednesday afternoon, or the end of the day on Wednesday, showing rainfall across mainly central and western parishes. What do we see on a Thursday? Thursday morning, not seeing much across the island, but we do see some moisture to the west of us, to the south of us. Thursday afternoon, showing sections of northern and western parishes getting on some isolated shores. Friday, very interesting that the island and the water surrounding the island shaded in greens, some amount of moisture. Very interesting forecast indeed for Friday. The end of the day on Friday showing some moisture across southern and eastern parishes. And then we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Saturday, March 1 as well. And we see some differences and we see some similarities. The similarities are basically the moisture extending from the frontal system all the way down into portions of Hispaniola and sections of the Caribbean. The differences is the moisture that we see here on the GFS across sections of some northern and eastern parishes, and not so much on the Euro. More than likely, the Euro, well, this is what the Euro is showing. The greens represent moisture to the south and to the north of us. The GFS is adamant that some of this could affect us. We'll see exactly how it goes. Either way, in terms of the total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, we can clearly see that the most rainfall should be wherever we have these reds into the burgundies that represents anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. Clearly across portions of Florida into sections of the Bahamas associated with that low pressure system, as well as the usual southern Venezuela, western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, sections of Belize, Guatemala getting on some of the action. And those areas could definitely pick up some amount of isolated flash flooding, because you know these dark reds into the purples and the pinks represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to maybe 5 inches of rainfall. But we see more of the light shades of reds into portions of Jamaica, Cuba, Hispaniola, eastern Puerto Rico, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, right there into portions of Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. But if we take a closer look at Jamaica regarding our total accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days, we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are adamant that there's going to be rainfall within the next 7 days across the island. We not only see the blues that represent 1 all the way up to 15 millimeters of rainfall, but we're also seeing the greens that represent anywhere from 15 to all the way up to maybe 25-30 millimeters of rainfall. And we clearly see that the most rainfall should be plaguing Portland. We see that area shaded in yellow. The yellow represents anywhere from 30 to 40 millimeters of rainfall. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are adamant. They're in agreement with that forecast. And we know how wet Portland can be in general, especially with the northeasterly flow, as well as the relief rainfall that is always there because of the hilly nature of that parish, not to mention the windward passage bringing along that northeasterly flow. Let us focus our attention on the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see a ridge of high pressure right here across the eastern portion of the United States. Another ridge of high pressure right here across the waters to the west of Europe. And we know the high pressure ridges are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can also see that frontal system extending all the way from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of the southern Bahamas, eastern Cuba, northern portion of Hispaniola getting on some of the action as well. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can make out all of these entities. The ridge of high pressure is somewhere here, the other ridge of high pressure is somewhere over here, and we know it's responsible, or we know they are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds with those low to mid-level clouds across the main development region through the Caribbean. And we know these clouds definitely have some moisture within them. We can also see the clouds associated with that frontal system extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the southern portion of the Bahamas and eastern Cuba. Definitely bring some overcast skies, if not some rainfall, to those countries as we speak. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday, February 22, 2025. It was stated that rainfall was in the forecast for parts of some northeastern parishes in Jamaica on Saturday morning, also affecting sections of some southern and western parishes during Saturday afternoon. And we know northeastern parishes, we're basically talking about these parishes right here, maybe Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne. These parishes on the northeastern side. While western parishes, when we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawny, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. Southern parishes, we're talking about those parishes like St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland. And the words, or the key word, is basically some, because some people hear that their parishes are going to be affected because they know that they live in a southern or western parish. And they don't remember the word some. Didn't say all. Some. So if you don't get rainfall, don't get all upset and think, oh, weather Jamaica is so wrong. Come on. We know complex weather forecasting is, especially with a changing climate these days. Either way, at around 8:36 a.m., a post was made here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, and I'd like for you to keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page, but they're made on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see that at around 8:36 a.m. the visible satellite image was posted, and it highlighted some clouds, bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, to sections of some northern parishes, so anywhere from St. James eastward, Trelawny, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, definitely got in on the action, and we can clearly see how clear it is across the southern and western end of the island this morning. So that indeed came to fruition. And then another post was made at around 2:35 p.m. highlighting the visible satellite images showing the northeasterly flow that the clouds were bringing. Look at the flow. We can basically see the flow coming in from the windward passage, bringing those clouds to section of northern Jamaica. Definitely some isolated shores at that time. And not only that, but look at this. Sections of some southern parishes were starting to pick up on the cloud cover, if not some isolated shores too. We're talking about sections of St. Catherine, Clarendon, sections of Manchester, St. Elizabeth got on some of the action as well. And if you can confirm for me if you live in one of those parishes, let me know. And if we take a look at the better view right here, showing the HD version of the visible satellite images, we can make out the clouds. I mean, we can definitely see the clouds across section of St. Elizabeth, section of Manchester, section of St. Catherine for sure, to prove that we definitely had some clouds, bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, before we lost the sunlight. Look at this. We see the moist northeasterly flow. Yes, we are still getting on the cloud cover across section of Portland, but the daytime heating was definitely bringing that rainfall to section of some southern and western parishes, just as predicted. If we take a look at the infrared close-up satellite images, not gonna see much in the way of high cold cloud tops at all. It's one of those days, no thunderstorm clouds at all, but we can make out the high cirrus clouds being streaked off towards the northeast, as we see here. That's basically it in terms of the upper level below and the high level clouds. And if we take a look right here at See Jamaica's YouTube channel, this is showing the panoramic city view. I think we're looking down towards the Kingston Wharf, looking towards Portmore there in the Portmore Toll. we can basically see that it was a sunny day for the most part in the corporate area, looking towards St. Catherine as well. Definitely a wonderful camera right here overlooking Kingston, and I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, you can visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. And it's not only these cameras, Panoramic City, they also have Barbican, they have Crossroads, Halfway Tree, the Kingston Harbor, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at some of the comments that came in, we had Nancy Harris 4256 confirming the rainfall, well, confirming the weather in her era. Her era is Grand Cayman, right there to the west of the island, and we can see that she was getting in on some breezy conditions at that time. And even a comment here that came in on our TikTok page from Trubo stating rain in Mobe currently. Thanks for confirming the rainfall that you got this morning. Alright, let's reload this image from the Weather Nerds website, highlighting what's taking place right now. And the latest still image is as of 23:55 UTC, which is actually 6:55 p.m. So this just came out 9 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:04 p.m. now. And what do we see? We see some milky whitish shades across the southern end of the island, across the waters to the southeast of the island, across the waters to the southwest of the island, and maybe some of these clouds might have some moisture within them, who knows. Cross section of southern Clarendon right there, the waters to the southeast of St. Thomas, waters to the south of Westmoreland and southwest of St. Elizabeth. Wish we had the Cuban Doppler radar, the Jamaican Doppler radar to show, but they're still out of it. We have to be depending on the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar Imagery, showing some amount of rainfall across eastern Cuba as we speak. So to the southwestern portions of the western peninsula of Haiti, getting on some moderate to heavy rainfall as represented by those greens into the yellows. Not seeing much of anything happening across eastern Jamaica or northeastern Jamaica. But if we take a look at the Cayman radar, we can see not much of anything happening across southern Cuba right now. But we can make out some isolated shores across the waters here and there, south of the Cayman Islands, northwest of there, as well as to the east of Little Cayman over here. Taking a look at what's happening right now, according to See Jamaica's YouTube channel, this is showing the flat bridge in St. Catherine, and we can see people driving about, going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather right now, definitely dry conditions, and we can see that the Rio Cobra definitely chilling for the time being. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Sunday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in yellow colors that we know represents up to 1 degree Celsius above average. We know the average temperature for the month of February across the island is about 86.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius, that's around 30.1 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30.1 to 31.1 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on a Sunday. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online's Twitter page up for Sunday, February 23, 2025. We know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Sunday, February 23, 2025. We're talking about Springfield, Spring Village, Camp Burley, Nightingale Grove, Dover Road in St. Catherine from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Guys Hill, Benbow, Palmetto, Waterford in St. Mary from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And finally, we have Hampton in St. Anne from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Either way, we have some tips to beat the heat as usual. It stays here: dress down, wear lightweight clothing, and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. Be cool, stay indoors, and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty. And put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those rays. And we can see an abundance of this across the entire Atlantic basin in general, especially right here off the coast of Africa. Look at this. That's a lot of dry air right there across the Cabo Verde Islands. But we're seeing a mixture of the blues into the yellows that we know represents the low end of the scale in terms of dry air, not to mention moist air, across the main development regions, intertropical convergence zone right there, as well as eastern portions of the Pacific, the western Caribbean into sections of the Caribbean too. Definitely some yellows in there, breaking some of the dry air. We know that dry air makes the atmosphere stable, making it hard for it to rain. So we're indeed grateful that we're getting a mixture of the blues into some slight yellows that represents the low end of the scale in terms of dry air. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Sunday, we can see that North America, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Northern South America, and Central America should be in the clear, because most of the Saharan dust should be across portions of the main development region. Some of this might seep into portions of northeastern South America and the southern eastern Caribbean islands, maybe the Windward Islands, anywhere from Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines southward, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, getting on some slight Saharan dust. We're not seeing a vigorous plume. We know that the vigorous plume is represented by the dark shades of browns, and we don't see that. We know the dark shades of browns can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons like asthma or sinusitis. So we're indeed grateful that we're just seeing these light shades of browns. We might see some slight haziness, but nothing too significant at all. Either way, we hope the people who live over here actually have some meds handy. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can clearly see a mixture of the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues, extending from the Bahamas, the Gulf, into the Western Caribbean, Central and Eastern Caribbean, that represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height all the way to 1.5 meter wave height, while we are seeing the purples into the pinks, that represents 2 to 3 meter wave height, right here to the north of Panama and Colombia, as well as to the east of the Turks and Caicos, to the north of Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands as well. And that's because of the winds that are expected. We can clearly see the bright greens into the yellows, and we can also see the flow of these winds coming in from the east for the most part across the Caribbean, curving southwestward in the southwestern Caribbean, averaging anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 knots, gusting to 25 knots wherever we have the yellows. But regarding Jamaica's wind forecast, let's close in on us. The north coast tomorrow, winds coming in from the east, but it was coming in from the east northeast at first, so I guess it's curving at 15 knots on the south coast. Easterly winds as well, 11 knots, and we can also see the air piling up across sections of some southwestern parishes, maybe inland areas of some southern parishes too. Going to be an interesting forecast. We might just see a repeat of what we happened today. Sections of northern Jamaica getting on the morning rainfall, sections of some southern and western parishes getting on the afternoon rainfall, and with the upper level winds coming in from the west northwest, if we get some of the, let's say, high cold cloud tops being blown off, maybe the cirrus clouds, it's going to be pushed out towards the east southeast, if not the southeast. So basically something different from what we had happen today when we saw the southwesterly kind of upper level high level cirrus clouds. It's gonna be coming more so from the west northwest tomorrow. So if we get some thunderstorms, those clouds, high cold cloud tops, could be pushed out towards the east southeast. But regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps now, both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are valid for 3 a.m. on Sunday. So in the early morning hours, we might just be getting in on some amount of rainfall across sections of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne. Section of Trelawney and St. James could even get in on some of the action too. Skipping ahead to about 10 a.m. on Sunday, the Euro and the GFS are adamant. They're still adamant about northeastern Jamaica, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, especially the far eastern end on the GFS, maybe sections of eastern St. Thomas. We'll see it actually goes. Then by around 3 p.m. basically a switch coming up. Just like how we stated, daytime heating, and wherever the air is going to be piling up across sections of some southern and western parishes. So we're seeing sections of western St. Thomas, Hickston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, maybe Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, sections of southern Hanover, southern St. James. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus. They're in agreement with this forecast. So look out for your parishes, look out for your counties. Are you going to be getting in on some amount of rainfall tomorrow? You can pause and find out. Either way, in terms of the accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS, both maps are adamant that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. The Euro going all the way up to 0.49 of an inch of rainfall with the totals across Portland. The GFS going up to at least 0.47 of an inch of rainfall. So the location and the rainfall totals are very similar. So we'll see exactly what unfolds, and whatever rainfall occurs, we'll definitely take it. We're in the month of February, and in February we're basically in our dry season. We can see the bar graphs right here showing that we barely get rainfall across the island this month, and we can clearly see the driest month of the year is March, and that's next month. We're on our way, and we start to rise up again in terms of the rainfall. But in Kingston, this bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive up to 19 millimeters of rainfall for the month. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.9 inches of rainfall for the month of February. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of February or for the entire year, you can visit www.weather-and-climate.com, and that website to show that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters that we receive on the rain gauge. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus your attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some low to mid-level clouds being steered from east-west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. We have the long line of clouds associated with that frontal system, extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of the southern Bahamas, eastern Cuba as we speak. You can also see some clouds bringing some thunderstorms to portions of Guyana, Suriname and French Guyana as usual, section of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, and Central America getting in on their fair share of usual isolated showers. And if we take a look at what's happening right now according to the Doppler radar images across the northeastern Caribbean, not seeing much right now across the Leeward Islands. Maybe some isolated shores in and around Guadeloupe, maybe some isolated shores to the west of Puerto Rico as well as to the south of Puerto Rico. But if we load these images from earlier today, we can clearly see where some isolated shores are passing through eastern and western Puerto Rico, section of the US and British Virgin Islands getting on some of the action. And we can also see some of the moisture coming in from the east into portions of Guadeloupe too. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, seeing some moisture coming in from the east as we speak. Gonna be a wet evening across section of Barbados maybe. Looking to the north of Barbados, we see some moisture passing from east to west, maybe to affect sections of Martinique, sections of St. Lucia right there. Not seeing much of anything across St. Vincent or the Grenadine Islands. Well, we see some sprinkles of rainfall right here to the east of the Grenadine Islands. We'll see it actually goes, or has that already dissipated. Either way, the weather view of Doppler radar images not showing much across the ABC Islands, not seeing much across Trinidad and Tobago. We do see some isolated shores, however, across section of the Yucatan, northern Guatemala, Belize, section of Colombia. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday. And we can clearly see that the most rainfall should be where the frontal system is, talking about the southern Bahamas into the Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba, sections of the northwestern Caribbean, sections of western Cuba, the Yucatan Peninsula, sections of Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, sections of Colombia, western and southern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago. You can also see some showers in store for portions of Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica getting on some of the action too. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.